Journeys with Muslim Scientists. Alima loved questions, big ones like, how big is the sky? And small ones like, why do my shoelaces always come untied? But sometimes, all the screens and gadgets in her room felt like they had all the answers, leaving no room for her own questions. One afternoon, on a street she'd walked 100 times, she saw a door she'd never seen before. It was made of dark, carved wood, with a handle shaped like a brass astrolabe. A sign above it read, "The House of Wisdom, inquire within." Pushing the door open, Alima stepped out of the noisy street and into a world of quiet wonder. Bookshelves soared to a domed ceiling painted with constellations. The air smelled of old paper and cedarwood. "Welcome, little questioner," a soft voice said. A kind-faced woman with eyes that sparkled like distant stars glided towards her. "I am Firdaus, the keeper of these stories. I have been waiting for you." Firdaus led Alima to a pedestal where a large, leather-bound book lay open. Its pages shimmered, and the ink seemed to swirl like a living galaxy. "This is the ink of ages," Firdaus whispered. "It doesn't just tell stories, it takes you to them." Firdaus pointed to a name on the page, Fatima al-Fihri. "Our first journey is to Fes, in the year 859. Hold on tight." The ink on the page swirled into a vortex, and the library dissolved around them. They stood on a dusty plot of land under a hot sun. A woman with a determined gaze directed workers who were laying the foundations of a grand building. "This will be a place for everyone," she said, turning to them. "A place to learn, to question, to grow. I am Fatima." Fatima explained her dream of building the University of Al-Qarawiyyin, a place where knowledge would be a gift to all, not just a privilege for a few. Alima saw that a great vision, like a great building, starts with a single, strong idea. The world swirled again. This time, they found themselves on a cool rooftop in Aleppo, under a blanket of brilliant stars. A young woman was hunched over a workbench, carefully etching lines onto a brass disc. "Be careful not to cast a shadow," the woman whispered without looking up. "Every line must be perfect." She introduced herself as Maryam al-Asturlabi. She held up the finished disc. "With this," she said, "we can hold the stars in our hands." Miriam showed them how the astrolabe could tell time, chart the stars, and even determine the direction to Mecca. Alima learned that mathematics was the language of the universe, and with the right tools, anyone could learn to speak it. "Now, for a different kind of light," Firdaus said, and the ink pulled them onward. They appeared in a darkened room in Cairo. The only light came from a tiny hole in a window shutter, projecting an upside-down image of the street outside onto the opposite wall. A man with a thoughtful expression, Ibn al-Haytham, sat observing the projection. "For centuries, people believed we see because our eyes shoot out rays of light," he explained. "But I believe the opposite is true. Light enters our eyes." He showed Alima his notes, filled with questions, experiments, and observations. "We must not just believe what we are told," he said. "We must question, test, and observe for ourselves. That is the path to true knowledge." Alima realized that asking questions was the most scientific thing she could do. Their next stop was a bright, clean room in Cordoba, filled with scrolls and strange, gleaming metal instruments. A man with gentle hands was carefully sketching a tool that looked like a pair of delicate scissors. "This is Al-Zahrawi," Firdaus whispered. The man looked up and smiled. "To heal the body, a surgeon needs a steady hand, a sharp mind, and the right tools," he said, holding up his drawing. "Each one is designed for a specific purpose, to mend what is broken." He showed them his Encyclopedia of Medicine, a massive work filled with diagrams of surgical procedures and descriptions of diseases. Alima saw that science wasn't just about stars and light, it was also about compassion and caring for others. As they prepared to leave, Alima looked at the shining instruments. "He helps so many people," she said. Fergus nodded. "Knowledge is a powerful tool for kindness, Alima." "One last stop," Fergus announced. The world twisted into a cacophony of sound, whirring, clicking, and clanking. They were in the bustling workshop of an inventor, surrounded by gears, pulleys, and fantastic contraptions. A man with a joyful, grease-smudged face, Al-Jazari, rushed over to them. "Just in time," he boomed. "Come see my greatest creation." He led them to the center of the workshop. There stood a magnificent clock as tall as a man, carried on the back of a giant automated elephant. On the hour, a symphony of moving figures, birds, dragons, and scribes, all came to life. "It's a celebration of different cultures, all working together to tell the time," Al-Jazari explained. Alima laughed with delight as the clock chimed. She saw that science could be art, and engineering could be magic. It was about imagining the impossible, and then figuring out how to build it. With a final, gentle swirl, they were back in the quiet library. The book lay open on its pedestal, its ink now still. Alima's mind, however, was racing with ideas and inspiration. She looked at Fergus, her eyes shining. "The stories of the past are here to inspire the questions of the future," Fergus said. "The ink is never truly dry, Alima. Now, go and write your own story." Alima walked out of the magical library, back into her own world. But it looked different now. It looked full of questions, and she couldn't wait to start finding the answers.